time to do business again. It's time for Business Incorporated. And here's what we have prepared for you. Global food prices ease in January. That's according to Food and Agriculture Organization. And duty-free trade deal is on the table between South Africa and China. A 15% rental tax is what's coming the way of landlords in Zimbabwe. Welcome to the program. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Let's get into business. Oil prices rose more than 1% as investors are focusing on the talks between the United States and Iran. That has started in Oman, but a whole lot seems unclear at this time. A lack of consensus on the agenda for the meeting between Iran and the United States in Oman has kept investors anxious about geopolitical risks. Iran wants to stick to nuclear issues while the United States wants to discuss Iran's ballistic missiles and support for armed groups. So look at what that has done to the numbers this afternoon. 0.64% in the green for Brent, bringing the price to $67.99. WTI is also positive 0.74. Uncertainty does that. $63.74 a barrel. At the close of work today, we would, of course, hear a lot of the outcome from that U.S.-Iran talks, and our eyes are there right now in Oman. And then, of course, safe haven comes up at this time when there's uncertainty in the geopolitics and economy. We see investors hide at the metal space. So we see spot gold back up 1.1% in the green, $4,822.69. Well, it hasn't touched the U.S. gold yet. It's still down 0.1%, $4,840.40. Spot silver is up, however, 0.4%, has recovered. That's gold and silver to $71.50 a barrel. Platinum hasn't been touched yet, 3.6% still in the red, $1,916.60 per ounce. Palladium is green, 1.4% up at $1,639.18 per ounce. And then we come to copper. Copper, the new, the most recent one that's been catching attention, but it's red this afternoon. It's 0.4% in the red at $5.797. And that's how investors are behaving when it comes to metals. But of course, at the end of today, we would see or hear at least the result of the talks, and then we'll see what happens to metals. Now, world food prices fell for a fifth straight month in January, led by declines in dairy, sugar, and meat products. This is according to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO. The FAO's Food Price Index, which tracks monthly changes in a basket of internationally traded food commodities, averaged 123.9 points in January, and that's down 0.4% from what it was in December and 0.6% from a year earlier. The index was 22.7% below its peak, struck in March 2022 after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Dairy prices showed the largest drop among the main products groups, down 5% month on month, driven by lower cheese and butter prices. Meat prices also slipped 0.4% as lower pig meat prices outweighed increases in poultry prices. Sugar prices fell 1% from December and were 19.2% lower than it was a year earlier, reflecting expectations of increased supplies. In Zimbabwe, the Revenue Authority, ZIMRA, they've introduced a 15% presumptive tax on rental income, and that's aimed at boosting tax compliance and broadening the country's revenue base. Under the new regulation, landlords are required to pay a flat 15% tax on rental earnings, regardless of actual expenses or deductions. ZIMRA says the measure simplifies tax collection and ensures property owners contribute fairly to government revenue. Officials also note that the move is part of broader efforts to formalize the real estate sector and encourage transparency in rental transactions. Non-compliance Zimra wants could attract penalties under the country's tax law. And Kenya plans to open new oil and gas exploration blocks in the second half of this year amid increased appetite for the country's upstream petroleum industry. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, is setting up a national petroleum data center to support this bidding. The move follows a major reconstructing in the petroleum sector, which includes reconfiguring of oil and gas blocks in line with exploration potential and international best practice. The reconstitution created 50 high-potential blocks from 63, particularly in the transition zone offshore Lamu and the Anza Basin, and this signals new opportunities for investment and exploration. The Central Bank of Nigeria is implementing measures to regulate the rapidly growing fintech sector, which are boosting access to capital for businesses and consumers. Officials say the move is to ensure fintech companies operate within a robust regulatory framework, safeguarding consumers and maintaining the stability of Nigeria's financial system. At the same time, this is to facilitate affordable funding channels, particularly for small and medium-sized enterprises, to support business growth and economic development. The regulator emphasizes that the dual approach, strength, oversight of digital financial services and improving credit availability will promote sustainable growth in the country's evolving financial landscape. In South Africa, the country has sold R1 billion, that's about $54 million, of inflation-linked bonds at a recent government auction. The National Treasury has announced that the bonds, which protect investors against inflation by adjusting principal and interest payment with consumer price movement, attracted strong demand from local and institutional investors. Analysts say that the sale underscores continued confidence in South Africa's debt market despite global economic uncertainties. Proceeds from the auction will help the government manage debt obligations and support fiscal stability, while offering investors a hedge against inflationary pressures in the economy. We're still in South Africa, where the net foreign reserves went up $74.88 billion in January, and that reflects improved inflows and relative stability in the country's external sector. The increase comes amid sustained foreign investment, exports, earnings, and central bank interventions aimed at supporting the rand and maintaining financial stability. Analysts believe that higher reserves provide a buffer against external shocks and strengthen South Africa's ability to meet international payment obligations. And the Reserve Bank of South Africa notes that adequate foreign reserves are key to supporting investor confidence, stabilizing the currency, and ensuring liquidity in the financial system. Still in South Africa, that country and China, they've signed the China-Africa Economic Partnership Agreement. The deal will grant South African exporters duty-free access to the Chinese market while boosting investment into South Africa's economy. SA Trade and Industry Minister Pax Tao led the South African delegation to Beijing, China, for the Joint Economic Trade Commission, and they were met with his Chinese counterpart, Minister Wang Wentao, over there.
The framework agreement on economic partnership for shared prosperity, which is now taking forward the commitment that China had made to ensure that we have duty-free and quota-free access into the Chinese market. We've committed that over the next 2 weeks, our teams would sit down to work on the detail from an implementation point of view now that we've reached agreement. This is to ensure that by the time the Binational Commission happens on the 26th of March, we are able to agree on what implementation looks like, which tariff lines we're talking about, which areas of investments we're talking about, and what the critical areas of implementation are. I think that it is an exciting moment because the commitment that's made by China is to ensure that we are able to access the Chinese market as Africa. This offer has been extended to the entire continent of Africa. And of course, as a developing country, we've had to enter into detailed negotiations to get to the point of this agreement.
Well, we cannot escape conversations on AI. Earlier today, we did talk about AI, the adoption, and then the latest from Google, which is they have released or launched a data set that allows Nigerians, among other Africans, to interact with AI, with artificial intelligence in their native language. In Nigeria, we have Yoruba and Hausa. Now, let's talk about how to make this a practical thing, you know, a day-to-day issues to be solved or handled through AI. And we're doing this with the founder of Vision Labs Limited here in Nigeria. In the UK, he's the founder of Vision Minds Limited. Mr. Miracle Agolo joins us virtually. Mr. Agolo, good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, I mean, AI is the talk of the day. Every big and small meeting or summit is connected to AI one way or the other. Can we drive this home? How can we intelligently use data to make our lives and our work easier than they were without losing jobs?
Basically, I think AI is the thing of the now. A lot of countries are investing heavily when it comes to these artificial intelligence for things. For example, like the United States. The United States, through the Silicon Valley, they're investing heavily millions of dollars in this, as well as the UK. And that's what they're trying to harvest technological mindsets because this country, they are competing for dominance when it comes to technology, because technology is something of the future. Why countries like our country, Nigeria, can easily and quickly, if we are smart enough to integrate this into our society, we can be able to use institutions like government institutions as well as educational institutions to invest heavily into this. And I can tell you for a fact, like my company and some other companies here in the UK, we are thinking of how we're working with the European organization that is in charge of intelligence, in charge of technology, finding ways we can be able to meet the 2030 mark by the Sustainable Development Goals. So if we can be able to implement this thing in our society, like an example, the financial sectors can be able to implement AI into the system. It's going to simplify things for workers, simplify things for those in agriculture, simplify things for those in education, and help streamline the process. So for the area of job, I think AI can help. And if I can be very specific, like here in the UK, government agencies are implementing it to assist their workers in doing very difficult tasks. So I believe if we can go through that pattern, Nigeria has a lot to benefit from it.
Yeah, but we hear job cuts going on, especially for entry-level jobs. And you did say there in the UK, they use it for very difficult jobs or tasks. What should individuals or corporates be doing at this time to be in tune with the trends of today when it comes to AI and jobs?
I can, if I'm, okay, in applying AI, it's a very difficult one, but that's a very nice question. I think, truthfully, AI has, not immediately, AI is going to be able to take a lot of jobs. But if we can be able to apply carefully, we have a lot to gain in terms of spreading AI, in terms of the government, investing heavily in education sector, training our young people, and teaching them how to use this technology to develop themselves and build businesses. I think we have a lot to benefit from it than to lose. Like my company, for example, wouldn't be existing if not thanks to AI. We are finding a way we can integrate AI into systems and simplify things. Like helping farmers in forecasting things regarding to their crops, helping businesses by giving them business analysis, telling people how to trade carefully, and helping people forecast prices of the future prices of stocks and various investments. So I believe we have a lot to benefit than lose if we have to apply this intelligence carefully. So I think that's what I'm driving to.
Yeah, but I mean, all of these tasks you've talked about, they depend on data. Who is imputing this data? How are they getting this data? You know, who is intentionally feeding AI with the data that we will need to carry out these day-to-day tasks?
Okay, AI is basically a large data set. And if you're asking about who, I think it's a joint venture. People, everyone who uses this system daily have a way of contributing to the system. And AI cannot function on its own. That's why it's known as the artificial intelligence. It's trying to mimic human mind because the human mind is also very complex. So as everyone interacts with the system, we tend to deposit a level of information into that system. And by giving information to this system, we tend to help the system predict what can happen, or we can use the system as a tool to contribute a very great prediction or bring about good deeds in changing or solving complex problems, bringing about solutions. So everyone, you and I, have a way of contributing to this data or data system, this large complex data. And I tell you, data is the finance of tomorrow, or finance of the future, even the finances of now, if it's well harnessed and well utilized.
So how would you rate Nigeria's adoption and intentionality in, you know, getting and operating in the AI space?
I think the government institution, if I'm to use an example here again, the government is spending heavily. I think over 12 billion, if I'm correct, of AI per month. You're trying a way to help the young ones, the youth, in terms of utilizing AI, learning AI skills and building businesses. And for Nigeria, if I'm to rate, I think we are still far behind the skill. A lot of people who are very skilled in this are finding a way to leave the country and go to other countries to help develop their skills. But Nigerian government need to find a way to invest heavily in this AI industry because it has a lot of things to benefit us in terms of our education, in terms of helping farmers, because our farming industry is dying gradually. But if we apply the AI system into this prediction, by predicting how the future should be in terms of agriculture, I think we have a lot to benefit. We have a lot to gain in terms of agriculture. We have a lot to gain in terms of education. Because, permit me, if it's not careful, AI is going to take a lot of jobs when it comes to teaching. But if we can allow our people to use their brains, teach them how to use this tool, bring out massive systems, we have a lot of benefit from it. So Nigerian government need to invest heavily through institutions. When I mean institution, I'm talking about the educational sector.
All right, thank you so much. Miracle Agolo, founder of Vision Labs Limited. Thank you for your perspective.
Thank you very much.
Let's head to the markets now. See intraday numbers for Nigeria. It's still positive from what we had in early trade. 170,494.10. That's what we have for the all share. It's gained 0.29. So steadily building from what we had in earlier today. For Johannesburg, it's also positive at intraday, 118,854.10. Also up 0.27%. For Egypt, it's closed today, and but it's closed positive 0.22%, 49,793.03. And then for Nairobi, this is closed, Thursday's close, and it's almost 2% up. And they've hit the 200 level. Congratulations to Nairobi Stock Exchange. We move to the Middle East, and we see two markets trade. Major markets trade in the Middle East on Fridays, Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and they are on inverse sides. So while Dubai is positive 0.22, Abu Dhabi is negative, slightly negative, not looking like a worrying thing. The other two markets are closed on Friday. That's Saudi and Qatar. So that's Saudi, the Tadawul closed very negative 1.34, while Qatar closed also negative 0.26. We move to the stock features of the United States. For the numbers, feature numbers that we have, we see the Dow Jones positive 49,120, the S&P also positive almost 0.5%, NASDAQ about 0.5% also in the green at this time. And of course, more information or background information is Amazon shares, they sank 11% after the e-commerce giant posted earnings per share slightly under what was expected. And so investors said to expect 200 billion in capital expenditures this year. Then there's Reddit, popped. They went up more than 3% as a social media platform announced an earnings beat and strong guidance. So investors are looking at the news surrounding each of those companies, their earnings and their financial statements, leading the sentiment of investors at this time. Let's go to Asia, where the market is closed at this time, and we see mixed colors right there. The Nikkei is very positive, 0.81, Kospi 1.44 in the red. And then Hang Seng Index is also down 1.21%. And then we saw index heavyweight Samsung Electronics and SNK Hynix fell 0.44% and 0.36%. Hyundai Motors, however, was 4.3% lower. So the big guys seem to be losing some numbers right there. Because to the other parts of the Asian market, there you have it, the Shanghai is negative, as well as in India. India is, well, nothing to worry so much about, 0.01% in the red. Let's find out what's going on in Europe. We have Chip on there, Chimbelu. Good to speak with you. It's been a while since I spoke to you, Chip. Good afternoon. What are investors doing intraday in Europe?
Well, Ini, it's nice to see you too. And European stocks trading higher today, Ini. The Pan-European Stock 600 is actually up 0.4%. And Germany's DAX is also higher, and it's actually even higher than the Pan-European Stock 600. It is higher at 0.6%. Now, markets here in Europe, Ini, have been struggling for direction. There are fears over AI, and it is weighing on equities here as well. The projected $600 billion spending spree on AI by Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Meta has been fueling fears about the cost of artificial intelligence. And you did mention also Amazon there with its share, falling 11%, so that might also be linked to it. But there's also volatility around precious metals, so gold and silver, as we've seen this week, and the value of Bitcoin has fallen to the lowest level since Trump took office last week. And on top of that, European markets didn't get much direction about the possible future of the European Central Bank's monetary policy in its rate decision yesterday. So there has been a lot going on, and this is why we've seen investors struggling to pick a direction today. But right now, it's on the up, and the markets appear to be in the green.
All right, well, at least you have that green for now. Let's hope it stays that way for a little bit longer. But there's this worrying issue of gas storage in Europe. What's going on with that?
Well, Ini, European storage tanks, so gas stocks, are now at 43% of capacity. Now, the bloc would have needed around 10 dozen full-sized cargoes worth of gas last month to get to the level it was at last year at this point in the winter. And it is the cold weather, Ini, which has been largely responsible for eating up Europe's gas reserves. As you can see behind me, there's a lot of snow, and there's also our river here in Berlin, the Spree, which is frozen as well. So here in Germany, it is the coldest winter we have seen in 16 years in many parts of the country, and much like it is also elsewhere on the continent. And that partly explains why the European Union's gas storage levels have fallen to their lowest levels for the first time in around 5 years. But there's also another reason. EU countries began the winter with fewer gas stockpiles than in previous winters, and that is because last summer gas prices were very high, and normally it is in the summer that utilities stock up on gas because the surplus that they buy is normally then stored. But what happened last year is that because of the higher prices, they didn't buy as much gas as they could have. And it is really the market that determines how much the storage facilities are filled.
Wow. Wow, and it's so cold there, like you referred to the river being blocked already. But I mean, are you guys still good? Is there security? Are there concerns?
Well, a government spokesperson told DW that the German government, doesn't really see any threat to gas supplies right now. And he went on to say that gas storage levels aren't the only indicator of Germany's gas supply, because a big proportion of that comes also from pipelines and LNG transports from the neighboring countries. So even if the winter conditions do worsen, the gas supplies are secure according to the government. And the only thing that would potentially disrupt supplies, Ini, would be maybe a terrorist attack or a failure at a major import pipeline. Now, the energy industry shares a similar view, but an expert we spoke with was a bit more concrete about the current storage levels. And he told us that Germany has enough gas, but that if we do have an extremely cold spell that, goes for, say, up to 2 weeks or longer, we could be maybe in trouble. So we do have to keep an eye on how cold it is here, Ini, in the next couple of weeks. So maybe you could send us some heat and sun from Nigeria.
We have a lot of it, Chip. I was about to say perhaps we'll do a tunnel and connect to your house, and then we can give you some heat. But I mean,
would be appreciated.
All right, please do take care, Chip. Okay, so let's see what's happening in the crypto space. Right now, you had Chip on that say there about what has happened to the price of Bitcoin. I mean, some investors stocking up if you have the hearts for it, but some are just wait and see syndrome. But at this time, it's lost almost 5% in 24 hours and is at 66,103.65. Ethereum is red. It's Red Friday. That's the short of it. And then some stories making the headline. Trading activity around newly listed tokens on MEX picked up sharply in January, offering a snapshot of where crypto is heading. Perhaps a lot of investors are confident enough to buy the dip since prices are dropping at this time. In Russia, their bank is moving deeper into crypto market. The bank plans to scale up lending backed by digital assets. Yes. So in Russia, they can use crypto as collateral to get lending. And crypto exchange BitGet is making waves in the market. The platform has secured the 6th spot among global crypto exchanges, reporting an impressive 45% growth. We do not know what the full picture will be, or the crypto picture will be for 2026, but I mean, we see some positive movement there, even with the red colors that we've been having in recent times. And that's it on Business Incorporated. Thank you so much for being a part of the program all through the week. It's another week from Monday, and we'll do it again. But before then, please watch our YouTube channels for Business Morning and Business Incorporated. I'll see you tonight for the Stock Market Report. Bye-bye.